This episode is brought to you by Nordstrom Rack and recorded at Spotify Studios, LA. Hey y'all, and welcome to Trials to Triumphs. I'm Ashley Blaine Featherson-Jenkins, but you can call me ABFJ. This week, author, producer, and political activist Nicole Avant talks to me about choosing happiness in the moment while honoring the legacies of our community. Our conversation grounded me as we honored our mothers and nurtured the seeds planted in our past to continue growing an even better future. I'm so motivated by Nicole because her discipline is what sets her apart and reminds me to never stray away from my path.
I finally looked at myself in the mirror and I said, okay, who do you want to be in this situation? Who do you want to be? Because everything else will fall into place once you decide. So I said, okay, I need to be courageous right now. Not fearless. I'm scared. I'm afraid. I'm sad. I'm all these things true. I'm still having those feelings and I'm not denying them, but my core is going to be courageous. And it really was something that once I made that decision, things actually did fall into place.
Welcome to the pod, Nicole.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited you're here. First of all, we're matching.
I love it.
And I'm obsessed. I always like to start with how I met people, if I've met them. So I don't know if you even know that we've met before.
I think I do that.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yes, but do you remember where?
I do. Do you?
No. I know. Did I see you at Holly Rod or no?
Nope.
Okay, where did we meet?
We met in 2017 or 2018 at a party at your house.
Oh.
It was a Netflix party at your house.
Was?
Yes. And we were, it was maybe our first season, maybe second season of Dear White People.
Yes.
And I just remember you were so warm and so kind and so welcoming.
Thank you.
And always such a champion for our show.
Yes. Oh, what a great show.
We always talk about that. We're always like,
I really did. We know
that you were a huge champion for us. But I just also remember being like, this beautiful Black woman is so wonderful, so kind, but also like so inspiring.
Oh, thank you.
And so that was, many years ago, and so much has happened.
A lot has happened. A lot has happened.
And yet, what for me is still so prevalent is that you have so much joy.
Yes.
You just are someone, you exude joy. You're always smiling. You have just one of those faces that like you kind of can't stop smiling. Yep. And to know all the things that have transpired since I last saw you and to see you still with so much joy is really beautiful.
Thank
so I just want to
I appreciate that. Thank you. I have to choose it every day.
Yeah.
And it is a choice. I mean, it is my spirit. I'll say that. I was born a happy baby. My mom says I was always happy, but I do choose joy. I choose happiness. It's always a choice, and I think that, and it works out. And even if I don't feel like it, because there are days where I don't feel like being joyous. I don't feel like being happy. The circumstances around me do not dictate that I should be happy. But it's not about the circumstances. It's really not about my feelings. It is about making the intention to have a joyous day, making the intention to be joyous regardless of the circumstances. And it's challenging, but it is game changing. And things do shift because everything follows energy.
You took the words out of my mouth. Energy.
Everything follows. My mom raised me on that. If any circumstance, she said, what are you thinking about? What are you thinking about? What are you saying? Because thoughts and words obviously create everything. And she'd challenge me all the time. Well, what are you thinking about if this keeps showing up? Because here's a mountain that you keep hitting up against and you need to face it. And it's going to keep showing up until you learn the lesson.
It's a good lesson.
Yeah.
Okay, so my mind is already spinning about all the things we were going to sit here and chat about. But before, I like to start with some icebreaker questions.
Okay.
Are you in?
Okay, I'm in. Oh, boy.
Okay, so when or where do you feel most at peace?
Oh, it's a great question. Home. outside in nature. Outside in nature. I can sit and look at flowers all day, and everyone thinks I'm nuts. I just sit and look at flowers. Yes, I love a flower, and I love being in nature. Excuse me. Being in nature is really my happy place, no matter what. And I just like the stillness of it. I like the perfection of nature. I like it's not some happy accident. Everything has its place in nature.
Yeah.
And I like seeing that because it reminds me that things will change. When I see the branches that are, if I trim back the trees, nature proves to us all the time, they will grow back. Everyone needs pruning. We all need pruning. We all need dead branches cut off, girl.
Yeah. I have such gratitude for the seasons.
Yeah.
I love when the seasons change.
Yes.
Because you're right, it's a reminder. Each season is there to teach us something. The beautiful thing about nature and the seasons is that they are consistent.
Yes.
They are consistent.
Never fail.
Never
fail. No.
And there's something really comforting.
Yes.
About that.
We all know the sun is going to set tonight.
Yeah.
We know that. It's going to rise tomorrow. Truth. It's not changing. The moon is out whether we could see it or not.
Yeah.
It's life and it's cycles.
And when you think about life, and there's so many things that do fail, that are inconsistent.
Yes.
There is something so wonderful about knowing that I think God gave us nature and the seasons, to remind us that like every day of anybody's life, they can always say the sun rose and the sun set. And there's something really just wonderful about that.
Very grounding.
Very grounding.
It's very grounding for me. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want to start at the beginning.
Yes.
So in your book, you talk about growing up in 90210, Beverly Hills girl. What was that like? When you think about growing up as, in Beverly Hills, what would you say that Beverly Hills has given you?
A real sense of community, for sure. And people don't think of it that way. It's very different now, I will say, than when I was growing up. But when I was growing up, even the movie stars, Ella Fitzgerald was there. I'd see her walking all the time.
Wait a minute.
Ella Fitzgerald was right there on Whittier. She's at Sunset. You make a right on Whittier.
Saying a wave.
Yeah.
Hello, Miss Ella. Good to see you.
I mean, it was great. Wow. But Dean Martin was there at that time. Smokey Robinson was there at that time. Diana Ross was there at that time. It was, and then, lots of doctors, lots of business people, but the beauty was there really was a sense of community. People spoke to each other. There were a few restaurants that we'd all go to. My friends and I would talk about the luau or the Mandarin. They're no longer there, but all of us have the same birthday photos. We're all at the luau with this big green drink, and fog used to come out of it. We used to, the ice or whatever, the dry ice, and it was just a really kind, small city, small town feel at that time in the 70s. I'm talking the 70s. And it was great. And it also, when I think of growing up there, I think of all my wonderful friends and their families who actually made it a point to really get to know each other and connect with each other, which is really not happening anymore, sadly.
Yeah.
And so Beverly Hills was great. It wasn't about Rodeo Drive and fancy and wealth. It was more about community and friendship, and just goodness. I had the best childhood. And I went to the schools from 5 years old all the way through Beverly High.
Oh, wow.
So from 5 years old, I was at Hawthorne Elementary School. And then you went to 8th grade. And then from 9 to 12 was at Beverly. And 4 schools in the city. And it was just a really wonderful place to grow up. It really was.
So I think what's interesting, too, is that I think most people would assume that maybe growing up as a Black woman in Beverly Hills in the 70s, you might not have had as great of an experience as you did. But what I'm hearing is that you were surrounded by so many other amazing Black people, too.
Yeah. By the way, there were a lot of Black doctors. Dr. Query was there. Dr. McPherson was there. Dr. Hawley was there. Dr. Williams. I mean, I had all these people living in Truesdale, many of them, some of them in the flats of Beverly Hills. But it wasn't so disconnected with, it was a very connected place with different races, different backgrounds. It wasn't half and half, no, but I never felt alone. And by the way, even let's say none of the Black people were there, everyone was really kind because, this was the 70s. So the parents really parented and nobody wanted to have a rude child. That's very different now. And nobody really, everyone was really afraid to have a rude child.
Yeah.
And it was, I was born in 68. So I think a lot of the women in Beverly Hills decided what their America was going to look like. What did they want? These are many of them, progressive and liberal, and they all decided, this wasn't easy to get to. Like where we are right now was not easy to get to. So let's honor that.
Yeah.
So I was very, very fortunate.
And let's make the most of it.
Make the most of it. Absolutely.
And so I also read that your parents have roots in North Carolina and Virginia.
Yes.
So do my parents.
North Carolina and Virginia?
Yes.
Oh, I love this.
Yes.
Oh,
so my mom's side of the family, my mom is from like Hampton Roads, Newport News, Virginia. But then her mother and going way back, they're from like Wilson and Goldsboro, North Carolina.
Oh my goodness.
And then my dad, I'm like longtime Washingtonian. So, but that's where I'm
I
where
love
I'm
it.
from.
And I love, there's something just about North Carolina for me. I didn't spend a lot of time in Virginia, but North Carolina for me, it's in my DNA. It's in my blood. I love it.
So did you grow up going back?
I went
time?
to visit we had moved my grandmother by that time to New Jersey, but we went back a lot to visit some family there, to visit her friends, because she was, that's her. North Carolina was her.
Yeah.
And she missed it. So I have uncles and, cousins, and we used to go down a lot, and I loved it. And it was so different from how I grew up. And everyone, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, all that.
Yeah, the South is different.
It's very different. And I liked the differences. And my parents kept the Southern part of themselves. My mom was a full New Yorker, born and raised, but she went down to Virginia every summer to be with her grandmother, Betty. And it changed her. She wanted to become a writer when she would go sit in nature and watch nature, and she loved poetry. And the South kind of gave my mom that feeling of that you were talking about earlier, that life changes and life is change, but we can depend on nature.
We can depend
we can depend on the seasons changing, and she loved that because Virginia was very different from Queens, New York.
I was gonna say New York.
Yeah.
But I think it's important too in life to have that juxtaposition.
Absolutely.
Like you have to, same with me. Like, I grew up in like the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, but, I spent the summers with my Nana in Newport News, or I would be in North Carolina. And it was so contrastly different.
It's so great.
But there is just something very peaceful about it. You're forced to slow down.
Absolutely forced to slow down.
And I don't know
which I love.
But I have to be forced to
I have
slow
to
down.
be forced too. And I think I do love that about, I love that feeling of slowing down to pay attention, paying attention to say hello to somebody and look them in the eye when you're actually saying hello to somebody, and honoring everybody like, oh, hi, Mrs. Green, hi, Mrs. Wilson. And it's a different feeling. And a lot of my friends in Beverly Hills, their mothers would say, oh, just call me Linda, call me Julie. And my mother would say, no. No. And, and up until this day, I still call my friends' parents Mr. and Mrs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that. I do like that.
Do you have a favorite memory from, being in North Carolina or Virginia that you want to share?
I loved my grandmother took me to her best friend's house, and I loved that she was so excited this day. She wanted to pick sweet potatoes. She wanted to go into the ground. She loved vegetable gardens, and she loved putting her hands in the ground. And I really didn't grow up that way. So she's like, girl, get in here, get your hands dirty, feel the soil. And there was something about her saying that. And I remember touching the soil, and it was cold and a little wet and a little rocky. It was great though, because I felt it grounded me. It grounded me. And she would say, this is why she said she would meditate and pray always while she was in her garden. Ooh. The collard greens or whatever. And she loved, again, going back to you, of planting the seed, watering, knowing that there is a seed planted and something is going to show up.
I needed to hear that right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was so great. That's a really important lesson to me because she would remind me. It was a very different way to say it than my mother, but it was true. Like, what seeds are you planting? Because all seeds grow. Well, they have to be in fertile soil, obviously, but you have to take care of the soil. You have to tend the soil. And so I remember that. And she brought that to New Jersey as well. But I do remember being down south with her when I was young, and it was great. Yeah. And I was very close to this is my father's mom, and I was very, very close to her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gertrude.
Ooh, Gertrude.
Gertrude.
That's a good one.
Yeah, Gertrude.
Yeah.
Grandma Gert.
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by Nordstrom Rack. I'm Ashley Blaine Featherson-Jenkins, host of Trials to Triumphs and proud Howard University alum. I am so excited to share with you the impact that Howard University had on my life and hope you recognize the beauty and the power of the HBCU experience. My first memory of attending Howard Homecoming was actually with my mom. My mom is also a Howard alum, and I'm from the Washington, D.C. area, so Howard was never far away from home. And she would take me and, show me the yard and campus, and, there were tons of activities. There's always wonderful activities for Howard students or alumni or even just people in the community visiting. And I think that it really inspired me to also want to have my own Howard journey. And so years later, I went back on the yard and knew that I needed to make this my college home. And, freshman year, I remember feeling like, wow, like I'm actually here. Like I made it. I too am going to be a part of the Howard legacy. And I just always hope to make them proud. And I hope that's what I'm doing today. Homecoming season is upon us. And if you've attended an HBCU, you know it's a time to celebrate and look your best. Visit your local Nordstrom Rack store or shop online at nordstromrack.com. Download the Nordstrom Rack app for even easier shopping too. Huge thanks to Nordstrom Rack for supporting the show and celebrating HBCU homecoming with us. Back to our conversation. I don't know. I just in this moment, I needed to hear just what you said about planting the seeds.
Yes.
Like I think it's so easy sometimes to forget that you planted a seed in fertile soil.
100%. We all forget. I forget all the time. I say, oh, and then things happen. I go, oh, I did plant that seed, didn't I?
Yes.
Oops. Oh, I did say that over and over and over again. Oh, I did declare that over and over and over again. And it showed up.
But also, like taking that a step further, seeds take time.
Yes. Seed time and
it's
harvest
a seed.
time.
It's a seed. And
Yes.
if you wanted to grow into a mighty oak or, that beautiful flower, it's going to take a little bit of time.
Absolutely.
So I needed that reminder of like, Ashley, you're planting seeds.
Yes.
The seeds are planted. Keep tending to your soil, keep watering, keep doing all that you can do that's in your control and just watch it grow.
Yes.
It will come out of the ground.
It will come out of the ground. And when the weeds show up, because they will,
Mm-hmm.
and the weeds are, the distractions will show up and,
Oof.
something will come and try to stop the seed. And that's why we all have to clean out the weeds too. We have to pay attention and pull out whatever is going to be in conflict
Mm-hmm.
with that seed. I mean, when you were talking about being at my house, there's this mighty, mighty tree. She's 100 years old next year.
Wow.
And I look at her all the time. She's so majestic. She's huge. And I look at her and I said, no, you were just a little teeny. And it took, God knows how many years for her to just tower over the yard. But again, that's why I like nature, because it reminds you of this wasn't always here. It wasn't just brought in and just put down. This was a little tiny seed that somebody took care of.
Yeah.
Is
there anything recently that you've had to weed out of your life?
Oh, God. Yes. I had, for myself personally, I noticed, I was casting my pearls, so to speak. I was casting my pearls upon swine. Like I was really wasting a lot of time trying to convince somebody or something, or this is really important to me. And just, one of my weeds was convincing others to understand my feelings without having any script of why they should, wanting somebody to read my mind, let's say. And what happens is it becomes discouraging, and you start to feel bad for yourself, and you start to feel like a victim
And misunderstood.
and misunderstood all of that. And I had to look at myself in the mirror, which I do mirror work all the time. Nicole, this is the truth right now. And I always start with that. Here's what's true. The truth is these are people in your life, and you're friends with them, or they were whatever it is, but you are allowing the weeds of distraction, the weeds of victimhood, the weed of trying to control everyone's situation, everyone's feelings about the situation. Get that out. I have to check myself a lot. And then sometimes some of the weeds are people. And
yes, they are.
Yeah. And okay, that one isn't okay. This is interesting. People change. We all change.
Yeah.
And some for the better and some not.
And some people are in your life for what? A season.
A season. Yeah. My mom used to say, some people cannot, where she said, all people get off the train at some station or another. They will not ride with you the entire way. And she's right. Some people get off and you hope it's a peaceful transition. Some people get you to where you need to go, and that was all that they were meant to do, is just to get you to the next place. And then sometimes I never understood that. I'd say, oh, wait, we've been such great, and nothing happened. Nothing bad happened. There was no disrespect, dishonor, or anything. But it was, they were leaving, or I was leaving them, and it happened.
It just was time.
It was time.
I also want to go back to when you were talking about how, like, if you don't learn the lesson, then it'll keep coming up. It'll keep showing up. It'll keep, the energy is just going to continue to say, are you going to learn it this time? Are you going to learn it this time? What's something in your life or an experience you had that you just had to keep learning the lesson a couple of times?
For me, recently, actually, I had to learn, I finally got it, that what I want, even though I say this all the time, I really wasn't living it. What I want versus what I need is very different. And my intention is this, and I want this, and I want this. Well, those things were showing up, but they weren't serving a need. They weren't fulfilling a need. And I kept saying, God, why is this coming up again? I've learned this lesson. I know this. And I'd write everything out, and I'd let it go, and I'd pray for divine order. God's like, girl, please, you can't just do all that, because I'm giving you everything you've asked for, you're getting, but it's not what you need. So my frustration was still there. My disappointment showed up. My, all that kind of energy, like disconnected energy. I was scattered because I didn't have someone to help me with what I needed, because I had asked for the wrong person.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and that's a big lesson for me. That's a big life lesson for me. That I've been bumping up against that mountain for quite some time.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I needed that.
Yeah.
All right, I want to talk about your parents.
Yay.
So, in your book, you shared a number of lessons that they've taught you over the years, but you wrote that my mother's life experiences became my life lessons, which I was like,
yeah,
that's the point.
Yes.
Like, literally, when I read that, I was like, that's literally the point of life.
It is the point of life.
Is that everything that she went through, that she wanted to impart upon you, so that you could take it as a lesson, so that you could learn, so that, my parents always say, like, I want you to be better than us.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I do believe that every generation should be better than the past generation.
Yeah.
And my mom loved history and loved different cultures. She loved different people, different backgrounds, everything. She had friends of all faiths, all races, everything. And she loved being alive. She really loved living. And my mom made sure that I appreciated history, and I knew where I was really coming from, not just even as a Black woman, as a human being. Like, this is hard. Life is hard. But especially as a Black woman, it was like seeing all these people, and she'd make sure I'd watch whatever documentary was playing on civil rights or anything, or any book on civil rights, or she loved collecting letters from very prominent African Americans. So she called it the Great Wall, so that we'd know where we come from. So it could be, there's letters or photos of Booker T. Washington and George Washington Carver and Frederick Douglass and all, Harriet Tubman and Ida B. Wells, and everybody is on this wall, so that and I had to pass it every day, so that when the trials came and and they come to all of us.
Yes.
We have to remember that somebody had it so much worse.
Mm-hmm.
And we are the promise. We are the promise of hundreds of years of people who really did not give up. They did not give up. And there's so much respect and honor for me in that.
Yeah.
That how dare I not do something with my life? There are people who are beaten every day and families torn apart and just, travesty after travesty. And the thing is, that has happened throughout life, truthfully.
Yeah.
To lots of people, And so the point is, it's never okay to anybody. Slavery is never okay for any group. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But the point my mom was trying to make is you owe us a significant life. That's what you owe us, a significant life. You don't need to be famous. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to be this. But good Lord, I need you to understand it's really not all about you.
Mm-hmm.
You've been given a baton. Now you go run your race. And if you want to be a teacher, if you want to be a scientist, if you want to be, I'll help you get there.
Make it count.
Make it count. Make your life count. And I think a lot of people, it's about how many people are following me and how many people like me and how many likes did I get. But it's all empty because it's not your source anyway. So you're always going to feel empty.
Ooh.
It's not your source.
Yeah.
And everyone is valuable. Everyone matters. And that's the greatest lesson my mom imparted on me was everyone matters. But definitely your lineage, I want you to be very proud of where you come from. Before we got here in the 1600s, by the way, too. So she was going, she's like, that's not just, we didn't just show up and that it started. Let's go way back. Let's go, hundreds of years before that. And so I love that she had this love and respect for history and knew that we had a responsibility to do something with life and to do something in honor of the people. I mean, we're sitting here right now as free women and, we're blessed to be, you're blessed, I'm blessed. This was not easy. This took a lot of people before us who had to sacrifice and give up a lot. I never received it, by the way. There are plenty of people who, could be sitting here, right? Years ago. They didn't have the opportunity.
Yeah.
So we are now here, and we have to remember that this makes them happy.
They're very pleased.
They're very, very pleased because it's if anything significant that's the best gift I think that you can give somebody. My friend said to me, her mom survived the Holocaust, and her mom said to her, "You owe me one thing. You owe me a life." I survived that as a child, and I was in concentration camps, and here's what you owe me. And I love that. And she reminded me of that. And it's really great because it's true. And it's
so true.
And it helps get me out of ruts when I get into ruts of, oh, right, this is not a joke. This life this is not a dress rehearsal, and it's not a joke. And this is really real.
It's real. We're here. We're doing it. And we got here because our ancestors fought for us to be here.
Yes.
And we have to have that reminder. And I love that your mom, I think it's beautiful that your mom made sure that the reminders were all around you in your home.
Everywhere. I mean,
that matters.
Oh, yes. The Ruby Bridges, the famous, Norman Rockwell painting where she's, going to school and they're throwing something at her and then the N-word is behind her.
Yeah.
But she had that up in my room. So I looked at that every day when I woke up.
Yeah.
Okay, you're in a public school system and you're having a great time at school and you have all these friends. Yeah, you and Ruby aren't 100 years apart. You guys are 15 years apart. This just happened.
Yeah.
She was 5 or 6. I mean, come on. And she's a hero of mine. And I again, it's when you put it in front of you and you give perspective. She loved having the poster of all the black men, the famous photograph and poster where it's just they're holding their signs and they simply say, "I am a man." That made me cry probably more than anything. I would look at that and I'd look at these beautiful black men. They're working hard. They're showing up in life. They're putting food on the table for their families. They're doing everything right, and they still will not be looked upon as anyone that is significant or matters. And that's what she was trying to make sure that I never forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, it sounds like we both had the experience of, being raised to be very proud to be
Yes.
Black.
Oh, yes.
I've always been incredibly proud to be a Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
Even when in school, people were calling me an Oreo or saying that I was pretty for the dark-skinned girl, or all of those things, it never took me away from feeling pride for my people and where I come from.
Right. Good for you.
And my parents did that for me, though.
Yes,
for sure.
And we all, I think it's very important that we do that. And my mom, you've seen photos of her. I mean, she's obviously is mixed background, and she said, well, whatever percentage I'm European, I'm this, she said, but she loved her Blackness, which I love, because for my mom, she passed always as Italian or white. No one ever thought she was Black. Oh, they thought she was from the Middle East, or she's a little, or Hawaiian. We go to Hawaii, and everyone thought my mom was Native. But I love that she said, I don't care what percent I am. I love it. And it's fabulous. And I love that about her.
I love her.
It was so great. She's like, it's just so fabulous, because she loved and honored our history.
Yeah.
So she wanted to be a part of that race. She was like, I want this one.
Yeah, this option and this one. Oh, okay. Well, now I want to get into the book. So I want you to walk me through how the title came to you. Think You'll Be Happy. Moving through grief with grit, grace, and gratitude. I also love alliteration, by the way. I love, trials to triumphs.
Yeah,
I love alliteration, so I love the G's.
Yes.
But how did the title come to you?
So I had produced The Black Godfather. I was at Martha's Vineyard, and during their film festival, the African American Film Festival, and it was great. And there was a publisher in the audience, and I was doing Q&A, and she said, oh my gosh, I really think you could take some themes from The Black Godfather, and I think you can, hopefully write a book. I think there's so many lessons from this movie. And I thought, oh, okay, okay. And so I tried a few times, and I wasn't getting anything. And then I realized the themes, the three themes that kept coming up throughout that film, and even looking at my mom's life, where they all had grit, all of them. They all had grace, and they all were very grateful for their lives. They were grateful to be alive. So I thought, oh, okay. So then I got a little closer, and I thought, okay, grit, grace, and gratitude. I really thought that was going to be the title, or something like that. I knew that was it. And then, I tried writing from 2020 up until, all during COVID. That's all I was doing, was writing this book. And then my mom, her last text to me, so Think You'll Be Happy, came from my mom's last text to me before her home was invaded, was, okay, think you'll be happy. And it was, when I shared it with my team, it was all these light bulbs started going off, because my mom actually was so much about controlling your thoughts, owning your thoughts, being responsible for your thoughts. So yes, was she talking about a sweet potato pie? That's what she was, she's like, think you'll be happy. You have to come get this pie from Thanksgiving. But then she also gave me a mantra for life, which is, remember, think you'll be happy. So we were able to just change the title that way. And it was great, because I said, look, now I want to add grief. We have to talk about grief. Because so I basically was like, look, I have this book on grit, grace, and gratitude. My mother was just killed. I'm not going to put out a book on grit, grace, and gratitude only. Yeah. I want to talk about grief and moving through it. And then the last text was just perfect. And I thought, it's her last words that she said to me. And we're going to put these in print. Yeah, we're going to put this in print.
Also, I think it just really speaks to your mother's spirit.
Yes.
That I almost feel like she knew that she obviously didn't know what was ahead and the tragedy that happened, but she knew the daughter she raised.
Yes.
And she knew that no matter what happens in your life, that she knew you'll always be able to find the happiness.
Always. And I love that it was her last words to me, and it was the reminder. and a mantra and a reminder of think you'll be happy. Think you'll be happy. You don't have to wait for the feeling. Just think, think nothing's going to change. Nothing remains the same.
Yeah.
And I just love that and I don't think it's a coincidence at all because I don't even believe in them, that those were the last words she chose to say to me.
Yeah. I don't either.
Yeah.
You wrote, my mother, Jacqueline, was the person in our family who held the pieces together when things were about to fall apart. In that moment after I received the call, I left myself. Maybe I became my mother, or maybe I became more deeply myself.
Yeah.
Which one do you think it is now?
I think it's a little of both. I think there was definitely a part of me that was so Jackie because she was so organized and she would just tell everybody, you do this. She loved to delegate. But I think there was a part of me, inside of my soul that just had not been ripened yet, that this was the situation that was going to have this person emerge. And, I had to look at myself in the mirror and I kept saying, okay, you're going to do this. If you do this, this will happen. If you do this, you do this. And I finally looked at myself in the mirror and I said, okay, who do you want to be in this situation? Who do you want to be? Because everything else will fall into place once you decide. So I said, okay, I need to be I need to be courageous right now. Not fearless. I'm scared. I'm afraid. I'm sad. I'm all these things true. But the core of me, I'm still having those feelings and I'm not denying them. But my core is going to be courageous.
Yeah.
And it really was something that once I made that decision, things actually did fall into place. I showed up at meetings differently. I showed up with different questions. It was once I decided to be a very courageous, conscious, highly functioning person during this time, things actually showed up in ways, thoughts would come, ask this question. When you're talking to the police, ask them this question. When you're looking for your mom's resting place, that I would have never thought of. So I had to decide the woman I was going to be.
How would you describe when you first got the call that your parents' home was invaded? What was the first feeling you felt? What shifted in you first?
Complete. It's so interesting. I remember this feeling. I remember feeling that my knees buckled. And I was very afraid of what was to come, of no matter what's going to happen, whether she lives through this or not, this is something that happened to an 81-year-old and an almost 91-year-old. So this was going to be hard regardless. This is a violation regardless of what's going to happen. So I had a lot of feelings. I was scared, and then it turned into anger, and then I was disappointed, very disappointed of my mom. Wait a minute, what is going on? So there were all these, but there was not one positive, nothing. It was fear, disappointment, confusion. I was very confused.
Yes.
I was very, very confused. But I do remember my knees starting to buckle. And then I felt I was just going to go down. I had to make a decision like, I cannot go down in this quicksand. Okay. So I remember another thing my mom used to say is, haste makes waste. And I was rushing to get to the hospital. But she always reminded me of, you have to be very careful when you're rushing like this because things will happen. You might fall. You might hit somebody. You never know. So it wasn't that I was super calm and slow, but I also was very thoughtful and methodical on getting dressed, getting this, not, just getting there, but being careful. I don't know if that makes sense, but it was, she really, I could just feel her talking to me in that moment of, I'm here. I'm here.
You said you felt yourself coming apart, but you held the pieces. How did you hold the pieces?
I just kept saying to myself, okay, Nicole, we're going to hold this together for now. I took it one minute at a time.
Ooh, that's
1 minute at a time. So every couple of minutes I'd say, okay, Nicole, we're just going to hold it together just for a little more. And then it helped me just move. If I had said, we're going to take this one day at a time, I don't know if I would have made that. I really don't. I don't think I would have made it. But I started going to take this minute by minute.
Yes.
And faith by the minute. So I was asking for new, fresh faith every 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 120 seconds. Need more, need this. But it was crawling. It was really crawling.
How's your heart today?
My heart today is very grateful. Really, really grateful. I'm grateful that I had my parents. I'm grateful for their examples. I'm grateful for their life. I'm grateful for their love. I'm grateful that throughout this tragedy that my dad got to come live with us for 20 months and I got to eat breakfast with him every day and make him dinner and listen to him and actually be there for him, because my intention, when he came to live with us, I said to Ted, okay, we have to make sure my goal is he must feel nurtured. He must feel safe. He must feel loved, and he must feel wanted.
Yeah.
He has to, this, everything just kind of blew up. And he was 2 months shy of 91. And so it was gentle. It was like having a baby in the house. It was really just very gentle, which helped me because I'm not the most patient person. So having him, he actually taught me patience. And it was just, I look back and I thought, my God, thank God I was home. Thank God I lived here. Thank God I have the means to take care of him. Thank God I have room in my house. Like, thank God this could all happen. We could take the worst situation and try to make something, the power to create a new life, to begin again. That's what I said to my dad. He says, what are we going to do? I said, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're going to begin again. We're going to begin again together. We're going to create new habits. And I don't know, Dad, we're just going to do every 20 minutes. We have to remind ourselves that we have to begin again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What has been your takeaway from our conversation today?
That conversations like this are really important and needed. And I thank you for even giving me the space to have it, because I think communication is such a gift, and it connects us to each other, right?
Yeah.
And it connects human beings. We communicate through film, we communicate through TV, as you know, we communicate through music, we communicate through the written word, but it's a form of communication. And I think used in the right way, it brings joy, it brings clarity, it brings peace, it brings hope, it brings a lot of different things. And I'm really shocked that I as I've been sitting here, I'm thinking, oh, wow, right, Dad was right. Nothing remains the same. Nothing remains the same, because 20 months ago, I would have never thought I'd be sitting, sharing a book, talking about my mom in this way, sitting, he's right. It's nothing remains the same, and there is hope at the end of the tunnel. Life is change, and things do get better. Things do get better. Yeah, things do get better.
That's what I was going to say. My takeaway from our conversation is that, you are the real life personification of trials to triumphs.
Yeah, thank you.
Of turning your trials into triumphs, into triumphant moments. This is a triumphant moment where you're honoring yourself, you're honoring your experience, you're honoring your family. But also, you are joy.
Thank you.
And it's really a blessing to be in the presence of joy.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
And that's my takeaway. Thank you.
As are you, because you're very positive. And talking about energy, you emit a very positive and energy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This was beautiful.
Oh, I love this conversation. Thank you for having me.
Nicole, I honor you. I really do.
And I honor your soul. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. This podcast is produced by LWC Studios for OWN. The show's executive producer is Juleka Lantigua. Our managing producer is Fatima El-Swifi. Shanice Tyndall is our lead producer. Associate producer is Mona Hassan. Jordan Thompson is our marketing coordinator. This episode was mixed by Trin Lightburn. Michelle Baker is our video editor. This episode was recorded at Spotify Studios, LA. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, and we hope you did, please make sure to subscribe, leave a rating, and review wherever you listen to your podcast to ensure you hear the next one.
Promotional consideration, products and services furnished by Spotify Studios.